Jai Jinendra, everyone. Welcome to this February monthly meeting of JSCNC. Hopefully, everyone is staying warm, dry, and ready to welcome spring. To allow all of us to enjoy this session, please follow these ground rules. Please mute your lines if you're not speaking. If you have any questions during the meeting, please type them in the chat window. Also, please note that we are recording this session to share with people who might not be able to attend. Now, I'm going to turn it over to our JSCNC President, Mr. Anand Shah, to start the meeting. Over to you, Anand.
Thank you, Ketan. Jai Jinendra. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to the February monthly meeting. I hope everyone is safe. We're off to hopefully a new year with a lot of hope, and obviously, a light at the end of the tunnel of this COVID pandemic. So everyone, I hope you are also sharing the same sentiment with me. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with our Mangalacharan. I think all the meetings should start with that segment. So we're going to do that. After that, we have a great discourse by Sudhir Bhai. And once we have the discourse that finishes, this is going to go about 55 minutes roughly, give or take, with question and answers. We have a couple of really interesting segments. One of them is from Purvi, who's our new youth coordinator. So she has a couple of children's presentations to conduct today, as well as announcement of a new initiative. And then after that, I have a few kind of a broader announcements that I will go through. Some of them are from Jaina, some of them are locally significant, some of them are, nationally significant, right? So we'll have a few of those, and then we will conclude by reciting Ovasagaram. As Ketan mentioned, during this time and also during the discourse, stay muted if you can. That would be great. Keep muting your line. It shows courtesy to others who may be speaking at the time. If you have something you would like to say, definitely take advantage of the chat feature. If you don't know how the chat feature works, that's okay. You can just hold it off. We will have some kind of a open mic opportunities towards the end. So you can, just raise questions or reach out to one of us. All right, so without further ado, let me invite Mr. Mayur Lodaya to kick us off with Mangalacharan. Mayur Bhai, over to you.
Thank you, Jai Jinendra. Can you hear me well? Jai Jinendra, everyone.
Yes, Mayur Bhai.
Om Namo Tanam Om Nam Siddhanam Om Namo Ayariyanam Om Namo Vajayanam Namo Loe Savasahunam Eso Panchanam Karo Sava Pava Panasano Mangalanam Cha Savesim Padhamam Avai Mangalam Padhamam Avai Mangalam Chattari Mangalam Arihanta Mangalam Siddha Mangalam Sahu Mangalam Kevali Panato Dhammo Mangalam Chattari Logutama Arihanta Logutama Siddha Logutama Sahu Logutama Kevali Panatam Dhammam Logut लोगुत्तमो चत्तारि शरणं पवज्जामि अरिहन्ते शरणं पवज्जामि सिद्धे शरणं पवज्जामि साहु शरणं पवज्जामि केवलीपनतं धम्मं शरणं पवज्जामि समरो मंत्र भलो नवकारे छे 14 पुरवनो साथ नाम महिमानो नहीं पारे नो अर्थ अनंतय पार सुखમાં સમરો દુઃખમાં સમરો સમરો દિવસ ને રાત જીવતા સમરો મરતા સમરો સમરો સૌ સંગાથ સમરો મંત્ર ભલો નવકારે છે 14 પુરવનો સાર જોગી સમરે ભોગી સમરે સમરે રાજા રંગ દેવો સમરે દાનવ સમરે સમરે સૌની સંગ સમરો મંત્ર ભલો નવકારે છે 14 પુરવનો સાર 68 અક્ષર એના જાણો 68 તીરથ સાર 8 સંપ્રદા પરમાણો સિદ્ધિ દાતાર સમરો મંત્ર ભલો નવકારે છે 14 પુરવનો સાર નવપદ એના નવનિધિ આપે ભવ ભવના દુઃખ કાપે વીર વચનથી હૃદયે સ્થાપે પરમાત્મ પદ આપે સમરો મંત્ર ભલો નવકારે છે 14 પુરવનો સાર એના મહિમાનો નહીં પારે નો અનંતય પાર મૈત્રી ભાવનું પવિત્ર ઝરણું મુજ હૈયામાં વહ્યા કરે શુભ થાઓ આ સકલ વિશ્વનું એવી ભાવના નિત્ય રહે એવી ભાવના નિત્ય રહે ગુણથી ભરેલા ગુણીજન દેખી હૈયું મારું નૃત્ય કરે એ સંતોના ચરણ કમલમાં મુજ જીવનનું અર્ધ્ય રહે મુજ જીવનનું અર્ધ્ય રહે दीन क्रूर ने धर्म विहोणा देखी दिल मां दर्द रहे करुणा भीनी आँखों माथी अश्रु नो शुभ स्त्रोत वहे अश्रु नो शुभ स्त्रोत वहे मार्ग भूलेला जीवन पथिक ने मार्ग चींधवा उभो रहूं करे उपेक्षा ए मार्गनी તોય સમતા ચિત્ત ધરું, તોય સમતા ચિત્ત ધરું. ચંદ્ર પ્રભુની ધર્મ ભાવના હૈયે સહુ માનવ લાવે, વેર ઝેર ના પાપ તજીને મંગલ ગીતો એ ગાવે. પ્રભુ મંગલ ગીતો એ ગાવે. મૈત્રી ભાવનું પવિત્ર ઝરણું મુજ હૈયામાં વહ્યા કરે. શુભ થાઓ આ સકલ વિશ્વનું, એવી ભાવના નિત્ય રહે, એવી ભાવના નિત્ય રહે. બહુ પુણ્ય કેરા પૂંજથી શુભ દેહ માનવનો મળ્યો, તો એ અરે ભવ ચક્રનો આંટો નહીં કે ટર્યો. સુખ પ્રાપ્ત કરતા સુખ ટળે છે, લેસ એ લક્ષે લહો. ક્ષણ ક્ષણ ભયંકર ભાવ મરણે, કાહો રાચી રહો. લક્ષ્મી અને અધિકાર વધતા શું વધ્યું તે તો કહો. શું કુટુંબ કે પરિવારથી વધવા પણું એ નય ગ્રહો. વધવાપણું સંસારનું નર દેહને હારી જવો, એનો વિચાર નહીં. અહો એક પલ તમને હવો. નિર્દોષ સુખ નિર્દોષ આનંદ લ્યો ગમે ત્યાંથી ભલે. એ દિવ્ય શક્તિ માન જેથી જંજીરેથી નીકળે. પર વસ્તુમાં નહીં મૂંઝવો, એની દયા મુજને રહી. એ ત્યાગવા સિદ્ધાંત કે પશ્ચાત દુઃખ તે સુખ નહીં. હું કોણ છું, ક્યાંથી થયો શું, સ્વરૂપ છે મારું ખરું. કોના સંબંધે વડગણા છે, રાખું કે એ પરહરું. એના વિચાર વિવેક પૂર્વક શાંત ભાવે જો કર્યા, તો સર્વયાત્મિક જ્ઞાન ના સિદ્ધાંત તત્વ અનુભવ્યા. તે પ્રાપ્ત કરવા વચન કોનું, સત્ય કેવલ માનવું. નિર્દોષ નરનું કથન માનો, દેહ જેણે અનુભવ્યું. રે આત્મ તારો શીઘ્ર એને ઓળખો. સર્વાત્મમાં સમગ્ર સ્થિતો વચનને હૃદયે લખો. સર્વાત્મમાં સમગ્ર સ્થિતો વચનને હૃદયે લખો. જય જિનેન્દ્ર. અને મારી ક્યાંય કઈ નાની મોટી ભૂલ થઈ હોય તો મિચ્છામિ દુક્કડમ.
Thank you, Mayurbhai. Because of the virtual setting and how we do this in a virtual format, we will have time for couple of savans, but we have previous coordinated it ahead of time. So let me invite Badal Bhai and Hina Bhabi to sing the next one. Over to you, Badal Bhai.
Okay, thank you. Jai Jayendra. Arham, 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 arham.
Arham, 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 arham.
અજબદુન અરહામની લાગી રે.
આજા બધું અરહામની લાગી રે.
આધુને મારો આતમ ગયો જાગી રે. અજબદુન અરહામની લાગી રે.
આજા બધું અરહામની લાગી રે.
કે અરહમ અણુ અણુમાં ગાજે.
કે અરહમ અણુ અણુમાં ગાજે.
કે અરહમ અણુ પરમાણુમાં ગાજે.
કે અરહમ અણુ પરમાણુમાં ગાજે.
આધુને મારો આતમ ગયો જાગી રે. અજબદુન અરહામની લાગી રે. અજબદુન અરહામની લાગી રે.
કે અરહમ રોમ રોમ માં ગાજે રે.
કે અરહમ રોમ રોમ માં ગાજે રે.
કે અરહમ રગ રગ માં દોડે રે.
કે અરહમ રગ રગ માં દોડે રે.
આધુને મારો આતમ ગયો જાગી રે. અજબદુન અરહમની લાગી રે.
અજબદુન અરહામની લાગી રે.
કે અરહમ હોઠે હોઠે ગાજે.
કે અરહમ હોઠે હોઠે ગાજે.
કે અરહમ હૈયે હૈયે બિરાજે.
કે અરહમ હૈયે હૈયે બિરાજે.
આધુને મારો આતમ ગયો જાગી રે. અજબદુન અરહમની લાગી રે.
અજબદુન
અરહમની લાગી રે.
કે અરહમ શંખેશ્વર માં ગાજે.
કે અરહમ શંખેશ્વર માં ગાજે.
કે અરહમ સીધા ચલ માં ગાજે.
કે અરહમ સીધા ચલ માં ગાજે.
આધુને મારો આતમ ગયો જાગી રે. કે અરહમ લાગી રે.
અજબદુન અરહમની લાગી રે. અજબદુન અરહમની લાગી રે. અજબદુન અરહમની લાગી રે.
જય જયેન્દ્ર.
Thank you, Badal Bhai and Hina Bhabi. Always great, and with a little bit of music in the background. So thank you. The next, I would like to invite Kalpesh and Rina Parekh. We heard him, I think, at the last meeting, and he's got a beautiful voice and really also carries a lot of passion in when he sings. So I wanted to invite him to sing the next one. Kalpesh, go ahead, unmute your line and get started.
Thank you, Anand Bhai. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Jai Jinendra, everyone.
Jai Jinendra, everyone.
We are singing a song based on a Bollywood old song. So some of you may realize the beat there. हइये तारी मूर्ति ने होठे तारू नाम. हइये तारी मूर्ति ने होठे तारू नाम. भाव भीना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम. भाव भीना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम. नथी मारे दुनिया मा कोई नूरे काम. नथी मारे दुनिया मा कोई नूरे काम. भाव भीना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम. भाव भीना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम. कल्पनानी आंखें हूँ तुझने निहारू झांझवानी जंखनानो दूर थाए जा अंतर निवेदना अंतर निवेदनाओ पामे विश्राम अंतर निवेदनाओ पामे विश्राम भाव भिना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम भाव भिना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम प्रीतिनो रंग एवो लाग्यो छे गहरो मेहंदीना रंग थी ए रंग अड़केरो पामितने पुलकित बने मारा प्राण पामितने पुलकित बने मारा प्राण भाव बिना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम भाव बिना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम आंसू थी रेब जेब अंतरनी आरसी तारा बिना सुनी छे अंतरनी बारसी मन मारू मोहे जो मळे तारु धाम मन मारू मोहे जो मळे तारु धाम भाव बिना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम भाव बिना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम हइये तारी मूर्ति ने होठे तारु नाम हइये तारी मूर्ति ने होठे तारु नाम भाव बिना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम भाव बिना हइये हूँ करू रे प्रणाम
Thank you, Kalpesh. So welcome everyone to our February meeting once again, and thank you to everyone who recited Stavan, and Mayur Bhai, thank you for reciting Mangalacharan. As we, few weeks back, I received the word about Veena Ben Ramesh Chandra Shah. She was mother of Dr. Dipen Shah and mother-in-law of Pallavi Shah. Some of you may not know Dr. Dipen and Pallavi. Dr. Dipen is son-in-law of Praful Bhai and Hansaben Kothari, long-time members and regulars here. So I request everyone to pray for her soul to rest in peace. Request everyone to hold 2-minute silence by reciting 7 Naukar mantra. Home. Om Shanti. Okay. I think all of you who are part of our mailing list and also attended the last monthly meeting, you guys are familiar. You know, we developed a little bit of an unusual situation at the beginning of this year. Our search for somebody to kind of step in and lead the center for specifically the BOD committee next year. Wasn't really successful, and we were able to get people interested for specific positions, but not for the president position. And I was talking to the committee last year, and everybody who kind of helped with the search. I was willing to help and make myself available in any way I can, which in or out of the committee, I've done that for all these years, thanks to excellent teaching from all of you here. I've learned from each and every one of you. So I'm pleased to say that after much introspection, I just realized that we can't continue to run our institution like this without a president. So I have stepped in and decided to hold the president role. So I thank every one of you for your kind words and support and emails, phone calls. I really appreciate it. I've been fortunate to really learn. When I looked at the last year's committee and all the newcomers who got introduced, and they did a fantastic job, right? And it reminded me, 5, 7, 8 years back, all the energy that we were putting together when we were starting to get involved and make a difference. So thank all of you for your kind words, and I think I personally think that we have a great team. We have Ketan Kurwa, who is our secretary. He definitely has that continuity from last year, along with Sejal Shah, who is the Pathshala director. Purvi Shah, who is going to be helping us with the all of our youth initiatives. Purvi's done a lot as a Pathshala teacher many years ago. Some of you may not know it. I think Pritesh might remember it, because I think she was a teacher with Pritesh. So, and of course, as always, Ajay Bhai, who is always there to help, right? Even though we won't have a lot of food-based events this year, I know that we needed that that position. We can't, leave it vacant. So thank you, from the bottom of my heart, all of you, for continuing, and I hope that I can not only serve the community, but I can also share my knowledge from last involvements and being in the community for so long with all of you, so we can do lots of great things in 21 and in the future. A poet once wrote, I hope you realize that every day is a fresh start for you, and every sunrise is a new chapter in your life waiting to be returned, right? So it just sums it up really well, how I see not only 21, but every day in my life. Sometimes, we get blindsided, or we get overly focused on what is wrong. And it's very easy, right, to think like that because of all the hardships that we have faced. As a humanity, I should say, of course, as individuals and families have had different experiences. So, my ask of each of you is, remember this, right? Every day is a fresh start for you, and every sunrise is a new chapter in your life waiting to be returned. If you look at it from that perspective, then, adversity, no matter how big it is, you will be able to muster the courage, and you will be able to apply, some of the foundational Jain principles that we have learned here to, face any situation that comes to you. So I'm very optimistic. Our future is bright. Our center was built on a solid foundation of education and cooperation, and we've always carried the flag and a message of Jain values, right, to the best of our abilities. What is most important for our community is, even though we are growing, we're still relatively small, and we are a great close-knit community, right? So the ability for us, even though our smaller numbers, ability for us to do great things is foundationally ingrained, right, in this collective community that you all are here. So we never lose focus on creating our meaningful impact, right? And we're always open to do good, no matter the size or the complexity of the project, no matter where the cause is. You know, maybe the cause, maybe there's a hurricane somewhere, or maybe there's a disaster someplace else, or there's needs, you know, far away that somebody might send a call for help. We as a community are always there to recognize the importance of Manav Seva and help out, you know, when we have a need. So again, I want to congratulate all of us on this special achievement, especially given the size of our community. I think we have thrived as a community, and we continue to improve our impact both locally, nationally, and globally. So thank you all. Now, with that, I'm going to invite Sudhir Bhai Shah. Sudhir Bhai is, you know, no stranger to many of you who've been here. He has spoken at many national conferences. Sudhir Bhai has held discourses and presentations and engaging workshops in India and, you know, parts of the world, obviously in United States as well, at many national, not only Jaina-sponsored events, but also, you know, a lot of interfaith events and Conference of World Religions and other places, right? So what I've really enjoyed about him is his session almost exclusively focuses on how to practice Jainism, how we can apply Jain values. So today's topic, you know, nonviolent communication and language of life. It's a beautiful topic. It is, he has, you know, put together some really good material, all the research that he has personally done in this space. I had the fortunate opportunity to listen to a similar session that he had conducted during Paryushan last year under Jain Center of Connecticut. So, you know, if some of you listen to it, or anyone who listened to it, there are definitely a few themes that you will remember and find those as familiar themes. But, you know, Sudhir Bhai always does great, is he always caters his conversation to the audience. So you're going to find new things when you attend, and he will walk you through the session. So make sure you pay attention and engage as best as you can in this virtual session. We had also sent an email. I think part of the WebEx announcement was an email asking people to, you know, if anyone who feels comfortable sharing a specific communication problem, right? And you know, it could be a father-son, it could be, you know, brother-brother, or it could be a professional situation, right? Any number of possibilities. So at the end of the discourse, we're going to, you know, invite, if you had specific communication challenges that maybe you're facing in your life that you would not mind sharing with us. Sudhir Bhai will kind of conduct a live diagnosis, right, on this call, and he will also show you how some of the tools and the concepts that he will share with us in a few minutes could be put to use in almost any situation. So, you know, I highly recommend, if you want to take notes, you know, please do take notes. If Sudhir Bhai, and I don't think he would have any issues, but we would also make his material available, right? So you can use that as a reference. So, you know, just pay attention. If you have any questions during the discourse, you know, we prefer that you don't unmute your mic and ask. Normally in a live session, it's easier to allow those interruptions, and I know Sudhir Bhai welcomes it. But in these virtual sessions, because of the lag and possible communication feedback issues, we're going to ask everyone to just stay muted. If you have a burning question, feel free to put that in the chat. I will moderate the chat, so I will be looking out for your questions. And then when he finishes his session, we're going to have about 5 to 10 minutes to not only do the live communication situation analysis, but we'll also any other questions that may have come up, we will relay those to Subir Bhai, and then he will answer that. And that will also be a time for anybody else who may have any questions to pose those, because we will let people unmute their microphones at that point. So without further ado, let me invite Subir Bhai.
Anand, I hate to interrupt you, and because we're talking about effective communication here, one of the presenters, the podcast students, needs to go right now. Yeah.
I replied to you. I don't think we can shuffle it right now, so maybe we can take them up next time.
Okay, I hope he's okay with that.
All right, thank you. Okay, so Dilbhai, go ahead.
Okay, Anand,
would you like me to share?
Yes, please. Because of my lack of technical expertise, I'll take your.
No worries, no worries.
Okay. So Jai Jinendra, everybody. It's so good to see all of you again. And I really want to thank you for your continued support and love. Now, over the years, we have learned a lot about Jain philosophy and practices. Now, today's session is a direct application of everything you have learned so far, right? Something that would really enrich all our lives. So next, so before we go further, let's deal with elephant in the room, right? So some of you may be wondering, why am I here? Some of you may be even looking for the person who invited me today, especially after my last session, right? So Anand, if I were you, I would keep very low. But seriously, this is a Jain session. So what we will do is start with shapes of Jainism. So, well, first, yeah, my commitment here is that you will get something of value. You want to go to the next slide? Great. So my commitment is at the end of the session, you'll get something of value that you can take with you and apply in your day-to-day life. And next slide, here is my request. Be open in your listening. Be willing to try out new paradigm. Examine your belief system. Some of them could be limiting, but be willing to examine them. Be generous with your participation, especially at the end in your Q&A. And remember, this is your session, so to make best of it, be present to this. And if you have any really burning question during the session, as Anand said, I will be glad to answer it. But otherwise, towards the end, I will leave enough time for you to ask questions. So, further to do, axioms of Jain philosophy. So what are the axioms? The next one. So axioms, it's a foundational belief system, a statements that is taken to be true without requiring any further reasoning or proof needed. And these are universally accepted, right? So the axioms of Jain philosophy are: soul exists, soul is eternal and independent. Now here, Jain philosophy differs from some of the other philosophies. soul is responsible for its own actions, and it bears all the consequences of our actions, right? And most importantly, each soul is capable of liberation. Very, very important to remember. So next slide. Based on that, I know that I'm capable of liberation. And within me, I have all the qualities needed to reach the liberation. So the infinite knowledge, infinite perception, power, bliss, even love. So that means that my happiness or suffering depends only on me and no one else. And this was a very tough concept for me to accept, because that meant that all the miseries I was going through, I was responsible. But as soon as I accepted that, there was a light bulb in my head that if I'm responsible for my own suffering, then I'm also responsible for my own happiness. Next one. So you have heard me say this many, many times. I bring in Jain in my talks, his quote, because I do believe that he has taken the entire teachings of Jina and put it in one sentence. He says, we are not human beings seeking spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings undergoing human experience. Let me repeat it again. We are spiritual beings undergoing human experience. So how does that matter? Well, if you see that way, then if anybody does anything to annoy us or insult us, instead of getting aggravated or activated, just laugh it off and just say that, oh, he's just going through human experience. He's still a spiritual being worthy of our respect. I think our practice of saying Jai Jinendra is something similar to that, right? We see an image of Jina in the other person. And when we do that, we behave differently with them. We do not get upset with them. Next. As we are human beings have needs. And what are those needs? Sustenance, right? Food, water, shelter, clothing, fresh air, just basic needs. We also have need for safety, to feel safe. We also have need for love and empathy. We also want to be respected and acknowledged. And because we are social animals, we like to connect with people. We like a sense of belonging in a community. We also like to contribute to others' wellness as well, right? That's also a need. We also need to rest, and need for recreation is important. Now, last two are my favorite, and I think pretty important. The need for autonomy. As you can see, how many wars are being fought on that need, right? People who are parents here with little child, you ask the little child, put away your toys. It's time for dinner, put away your toys. And the child says, no. He said, well, daddy said that put away your toys. They said, no, that's an autonomy war, right? And the last one, the meaning, the purpose in life. I think that's very, very important. I've talked about Viktor Frankl in the past talks, that he's an Austrian psychiatrist who was put in the Nazi camp, concentration camp. Now, he was beaten, he was tortured, and at that time he realized that no matter what people do to him, they can torture him, they can beat him, but they cannot take away his power to respond to all of that. And that's the time he felt more power than his captors. And what he observed were the people who survived were the ones who had found meaning, who had found purpose in their lives. So when he survived, and when he was released from the camp, he wrote a book called Men's Search for Meaning. If you haven't read it, please read it. It's very, very good. And he developed the whole new psychotherapy based on logos theory. Next. So the purpose of human communication is to create quality of connection with people that makes it enjoyable for us to contribute to one another's well-being, right? That's based on our axioms of Jain philosophy. I think that is obvious. Okay, I think I skipped one slide. Okay. So when our needs are met, we feel happy, we feel grateful, we feel satisfied, we feel loved. When our needs are not met, we feel angry, we feel sad. All those emotions. Now, I spent 20 years in schools, colleges, universities, and a lot of that time even in the principal's office. And yet I was never taught about human needs or feelings. Let's really pay attention to that. Next slide. So that brings us to the purpose of communication, to create quality of connection. So the whole idea of communication is seeing what's alive in us and others and engage in activity that makes life more wonderful for us and the others. So based on that, next slide. Marshall Rosenberg, has anybody heard his name? He developed, I think in 70s, Center for Nonviolent Communication in Detroit. He developed a 4-step process of communication that focuses on human needs. And it's very simple, and yet a bit challenging to practice. So in this, you look what's alive in others and what would make life more wonderful for others. So if our needs are not being fulfilled, find ways we can behave and nurture those needs and take action to fulfill them. So if our needs are fulfilled, let's celebrate. It's a very radical departure from the language of dominance and judgment that we have come to live under. Now, the observation here provides clarity about the action that's we are supposed to take, or action that supports or does not support these needs. Feelings are just a manifestation of what's happening to our needs, right? So if our needs are fulfilled, we feel great. If our needs are not being fulfilled, we feel sad. And requests are just the action we would like to be taken to better meet our needs. So you can have requests to others that, okay, can you please do this for me so that my need for whatever it is, safety is met. So it is a language of our heart. And in my opinion, it should be the normal language, so that because it nurtures our spiritual being. As I said, we are spiritual being undergoing human experience. This is the kind of language of a spiritual being. So next. And yet, instead, we got engaged in different type of game. I call it who's right game. I knew this game very well, and I played, and I was very good at it. When you play this game, you're constantly thinking about what others think about you, right? If somebody criticized me, I would hear it in one of two ways. I could turn my ear inwards and believe in that criticism and then think what's wrong with me. When I do that, I would feel very depressed. Or I would turn my ear outwards and think what's wrong with the other person. How would you know about that, you idiot, right? And get angry about it. Now, I had a unique ability to hear it both ways. I could hear inwards as well as outwards. No wonder I went through life feeling angry, guilty, depressed, angry, guilty, depressed, angry, guilty, depressed. Now, on top of that, I also learned to compare myself with others. Now, I think it's the best way to feel miserable in life, to compare yourself with others. Now, if you don't know how to do that, there's a book out there. The book is called How to Be Miserable by Dan Greenberg. Now, in that book, in the first chapter, it shows you a picture of, by today's standard, a very attractive man and very attractive woman with all their measurements on it. And the exercise is you take your measurements and compare. Now, you could be really feeling happy and you go through this exercise and you will get as miserable as you can get until you turn the page. So he goes through multiple exercises like this. And at the end, you really, really feel miserable. This book really delivers. So I had learned all these lessons really, really well. These lessons were taught to me by our societal structures. I call it domination structure. And it requires us to think about what others, especially people in authority, think about us. Next. So for thousands of years, in our known history, we have been operating under this domination structure. Structure in which some people claim to be superior and they have right to control others because they know what's best. Now it could be an individuals or groups. So the individuals could be kings, czars, dictators. Some of them call themselves presidents. Some of them call themselves parents or teachers. They could be priests, they could be rabbi, imams, religious leaders, sadhus, or there are groups of people. Now, some of those groups call themselves gangs, others call themselves corporations, others call them government or cartel or even church or religious groups. Now, to maintain that structure of dominance, it is very important that people are educated to be obedient. So how do you educate people to be obedient and submissive? You teach them the language in which they get completely disconnected from their own power, the power that we talked about earlier, right? As a soul, you have tremendous power, but you need to get disconnected from your own power and look outwards to authority to guide you how you are meant to live. So, and that's done because people who are aware of their own power do not make good slaves, or they do not make good subordinates. Next slide. So to do that, we need to teach them also a language that is static. And that's the language of dominance. It's a language of moralistic judgments. It evaluates and judges people to be good or bad, right or wrong, normal, abnormal, appropriate, inappropriate, etc. You are judged for your behavior. You are even judged for your appearance, right? You're beautiful, ugly, you're dark skinned, you're fair skinned. Even your intelligence is judged. You're smart, you're stupid, you're educated, you're uneducated, etc. Next. Now, in addition to this language of dominance, the language of moralistic judgment, it is also important to teach people retributive justice system. It implies that if you are judged to be bad by authority, you deserve to be punished. If you are judged by the authority to be good, you deserve to be rewarded. So the whole thing of reward and punishment is pretty violent in my opinion. So the combination of thinking this way, the authoritative structure and retributive justice, is at the heart of all violence in our planet, I believe. And it instills guilt, it instills shame in people. People start blaming each other. Next. Then, on top of that, we have language that denies choice. I have to, or you have to. You must, you should, you ought to. You can't do that, right? Those are all the language that denies choice. Then there is another language which is called Amtssprache in German. So when Adolf Eichmann, a Nazi war criminal, he was asked during his trial, was it difficult for you to send all those thousands of people into the death chambers, right? The Eichmann replied, to tell you the truth, it was very easy because of our language. He called it Amtssprache. Amts means office. Sprache is the language. So the language of bureaucracy, it goes something like this. So when somebody asks you, why did you do that? He said, I had to. Why did you have to? Because of superiors' orders. They made me do it. It's the law. It's the company policy. That's the rule. Very, very dangerous way of responding to things. It takes away your responsibility of your action. Next. In addition to the language of dominance, okay. So let's look at religion. Are religions uniting or dividing? In my opinion, organized religion tend to perpetuate this kind of thinking. Pap, punya, swarg, nark, right? If you do good, you go to swarg. If you do bad, you go to nark. It instills fear in people. It instills shame and guilt. I think that is the source of violence also. My God is better than yours, right? That's also comes in organized religion. Even among Jain, where Anekantwad is our core principle, we see this. We use the language that denies choice. If you're Jain, you can't eat root vegetables. If you go to temple, you can't go to temple during menstrual cycle. You must recite Nauka mantra every day to be good Jain. We even say in our prayers, Pradhanam Sarva Dharmanam Jainam Jayati Shasanam. And language of comparison is a language of violence, in my opinion. So what is the solution? So next slide, please. So Krishnamurti, anybody has heard about Krishnamurti? So Chintu Krishnamurti is one of the greatest thinkers and philosophers of 20th century, in my opinion. He says, we are very defensive, and that's how we become very aggressive when we hold on to a particular belief, a dogma, or when we worship our particular religion. with a book which is called Scriptures. Instead, next one. Like Rumi. He says, there is a place beyond right and wrong. Meet me there. So let's meet there and liberate ourselves from our cultural indoctrination for the rest of the sessions. Next. So nonviolent communication, the language of life. I was introduced to this in 2004 at the Parliament of World Religion in Barcelona. A fellow Jain delegates, actually two sisters from Chicago, Hema and Manda Pokharna, did a workshop on Marshall Rosenberg's work right after my session on creating mutual understanding and respect. I immediately saw that what I was missing in my presentation. So I studied it thoroughly and practiced it and found it to be extremely useful. Next. So the first step in this process is observation, right? So observation provides clarity about the action and supports or not support our needs. Now we have to make sure that an observation is a judgment. Observation is just an observation and not a judgment. So let me give you a little bit of example. The other day, a woman called me and she said, my friend asked me to talk to you. I'm just going through some difficult time at work. So I said, okay, what's happening? He said, well, my boss is very demanding. I said, okay, that's a judgment. Can you tell me observation? What is he doing? He said, well, he tells me to do things that are very unethical. I said, well, unethical, that's also a judgment. What does he do? What is the observation? And she had very much difficulty explaining to really what he did. She always had the judgment, and that's how we, as human beings, we see things, right? We look at something and we immediately jump to judgment. Next. So you see here A and B. You're observing it. Now, immediate our judgment is, well, A looks darker than B, right? Next. As you can see, A and B are exactly same color. But the way they are arranged, we see it to be different. Next. So again, Krishnamurti says, observing without judgment is the highest form of intelligence. And it's also highest form of spirituality. An intelligent mind is an inquiring mind, free of conclusions, free of judgments. When you conclude, when you judge, you no longer are learning or growing. Next. So the feelings. Feeling as just the manifestation of what's happening to our needs. When our needs are not met, we feel unpleasant feeling. When our needs are met, we feel pleasureful feeling. Now here we want to make sure that we don't mix up our feelings and our needs. So Marshall gives a very good example of this. A woman, he gives an example of a woman asked her husband, do you love me? And the husband, who was trained in nonviolent communication, he said, well, I know you asked this question, because it's important to you, but love is a need. However, I'm hearing that you are using as a feeling. Do you mean by love, I'm feeling warm and fuzzy towards you? I said, yes. I said, okay. So now that I know that you're using as a feeling and not as a need, ask me again. So she said, do you love me? The husband says, when? He said, when? Her husband said, well, feelings change moment by moment. So how can I honestly answer your question without reference to time? So she said, right now. I said, no, but check back in a few minutes because feelings change. I may change my mind in a few minutes. So I think that's pretty humorous experience, humorous example of how we tend to use feelings and needs interchangeably and get confused between those two. So what I did, I created a feelings vocabulary so I can really express myself. Next slide. So the feeling angry, depressed, confused, irritated, upset. And on the other hand, you have happy, loved, excited, inspired, eager, kind. So very important that we have the right vocabulary of feelings so that we can express in a manner that communicates with the other people. You can create your own list also, and we'll make these slides available to you. Next. The next step is connecting our feelings with our needs. Needs are at the center of all human interactions, and it is about finding ways in which we can behave that nurture these needs, and we can take action to fulfill them. And then the next, okay, so need vocabulary, we went through that earlier. We should also have a good needs vocabulary. Then the next slide, please. The final step is making a request. Requests are the action that we would like taken to better our needs. And to illustrate the whole example of how these 4 steps go back to the request, please. Illustrate these 4 steps that we talked about: observation, feelings, needs, and request. So let's see, a woman has a birthday today, and she expects her husband to bring breakfast in bed. Instead, he just gets ready, doesn't even wish her birthday, goes away to work. Now, all day the woman keeps thinking, what happened? Why didn't my husband remember that? Maybe he doesn't love me anymore. Maybe he's in love with somebody else, right? So all day she's thinking of this thing, getting all worked up. Now, normally the husband comes home at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, he's not home. 5:30, he's not home yet. Now, 6 o'clock, the husband walks in and all hell breaks loose, right? But let's consider that she's trained in nonviolent communication. How would the communication go? So, observation. So when the husband comes, she said, well, I noticed that you didn't wish me for my birthday today. I feel sad. I feel disappointed. I feel even irritated. I need to feel loved. I need to feel acknowledged, the need part, right? I need to feel respected. My needs for respect were not met. Then the request part. Can you please take me out for a candlelight dinner somewhere romantic and celebrate with me? Now, don't you think that would go significantly better than the other way around? Now, suppose the husband is also trained in nonviolent communication and he does not feel like going out that day, right? So how would he communicate? How do you say no in nonviolent communication? So he can say, well, I'm really, really tired. My need for rest. I need to really rest. So instead, can we go out tomorrow where I can be present and celebrate it? Because when you want to say no, there's something else that's preventing you from saying yes, right? It's one of your needs that is not being met. So if you communicate that need, then it is easier for the other person to accept your no. Requests can also be, in my opinion, wonderful gifts. So when I was in a graduate school, there was a fellow student from Palestine. So anytime I requested him for help in any other way, he would put his hand on his chest, on his heart, and say, Mamnoon. I asked him once what that meant. And he said, that means thank you. Thank you for giving me a gift, giving me an opportunity to serve you. And that's a gift. So many cultures have that. Even many of you may have experienced langar, right? Sikh langar. So they not only feed you, but when you come out of that langar, your shoes are polished. And they thank you for giving them opportunity to serve you. Because serving is considered a privilege and not an obligation. I think that's a wonderful way of looking at giving a gift. So okay. Yep. Next one, please. Okay. Sorry about. Okay, so we want to make sure that we avoid presenting our requests to others in which they hear that as a demand. Because anytime people hear a criticism or a demand, makes it very, very difficult for people to enjoy contributing to each other's well-being. We never want anything done that we request out of guilt or shame created by criticism or by hearing criticism that they hear from us. So there was a woman attended my session at the yoga conference, and she came back the next day and said, this nonviolent communication thing doesn't work. Oh, I said, well, let's learn from it. What did you say and to whom? She said, it was my son. When I got home yesterday, he had not done 3 things that he said he would do around the house. She told me that she made it very clear observation and pointed out those 3 things that he had not done. She clearly expressed her feelings and needs, and she made a very clear request. She said, would you please do those things now? So she had clearly used the language of nonviolent communication. So I said, then what's the problem? She said, he didn't do it. Oh, I said, so what did you say? What did you do? She said, I told him he can't go through life being lazy and irresponsible. I said, okay, so you got the whole mechanism right, but I see I did not make myself very clear the difference between request and demand. It sounds like your objective was to get him to do things. He said, of course, that's exactly what I wanted. I said, then that's not nonviolent communication. In nonviolent communication, it is never our objective to get what we want. Our objective is to create a quality of connection with people that ends up with everybody getting their needs met. It means that not using this as a strategy to manipulate people to get things done from them. If we do that, it is very, very easy for the other person to hear it as a demand, and it threatens their autonomy and makes it much, much harder for them to enjoy giving. We need to state clearly what we want, but our objective is for everybody to get their needs met, not just our own needs met, right? And it's done through compassionate giving. If your objective is to get what you want, don't study nonviolent communication. Go to dog obedience school and see how they train dogs. You see, nonviolent communication is less to do with the mechanics of the communication, and it is more to do with serving your spirituality. Its intention, its purpose is to create quality of connection with ourselves and with other people that allows compassionate giving and receiving joyful, and it takes place naturally. Next. Now, here you want to avoid punishment at all times. Now, some of you may say, well, without punishment, you would have anarchy. You would have violence. You would have all kinds of horrible things happen. Now, this comes from belief that only way you can have order is through justice system where people are punished when they don't do what authority think it's right. It never works because punishment creates counter-violence. Violence always creates more violence. Our families, our school, our government, all are set up to work in this retributive justice system. Here's the problem. If we punish, we are then experienced as a source of violence, someone who's prepared to make them suffer if they don't do what we want. Now, this is very costly because whenever or whatever degree people see us as violent being rather than a compassionate being, it makes it that much harder then for them to enjoy compassionately relating to us. And it robs us of the enjoyment of the intimate connection with people. Now, people are usually surprised that I put reward in the same category as well. I'm always told, what's wrong with rewards, right? Well, I would suggest you read Alfie Cohen's book, Punishment by Reward. You see, rewards are part of the same game as punishment. They are both a form of external control. I never want people to do things for an extrinsic reason. I don't want children to take out the garbage because they get $1. I want them to take out garbage because when they do it, they are in total bliss taking out the garbage because they see how their effort contributes to the well-being of the whole family. So have you ever done something good for another person just for the sake of doing it without any reason? Do you remember how you felt? Do you remember how the other person felt? Right? It was a wonderful feeling. So why rob yourself of the joy that you see by expecting people to do things for rewards and punishment? And besides, it never works, right? Instead of rewards, now there is a difference between reward and sincere gratitude. Gratitudes are great. It's an appreciation because it's a celebration of the joy of giving and receiving. It's also a connection with your own spirituality. Very different from praise and compliments. Next slide. So anger, depression, shame, guilt, those are tragic expression of our unmet needs. And I also consider them as gifts. They are the warning signs, showing that one or more of our needs are not being met when we feel any of that, and we can do something about it. So I was doing this session again at a yoga event, and at the end of the session, a woman came to me and said, you know, I'm feeling all four of these all the time. So I said, okay, what happened? Why do you feel this way? And she said, well, when I was 16, I was raped by my uncle, my mother's brother. And I think my mother knew about it, and she didn't do anything about it. So I asked her, did she talk to her mother about it? She said, no, I ran away from home and I moved to the United States where my aunt was when I was 16, right after this event happened. I haven't seen my mother since then. So I said, well, it's a terrible thing that anybody has to go through this. I can see that you feel all that because your need for safety was violated, your need for trust was violated. And now that you no longer are in touch with your mother, is there anything you can do to give more empowering meaning to what happened? So she said, well, let me think about it. I also shared with him what helps me is finding purpose in life that is bigger than me, right? A purpose that drives you. So she listened to that and she said, okay, I will definitely look into it. A year later, I was at the same yoga event in Squaw Valley. And I was setting up my booth, and a woman came running to me. And she came and gave me a big hug and said, do you remember me? I said, okay, yes. She said, you know, what you said last time, I've been thinking. And as soon as I went back to my town, I joined the crisis center today for the battered women. And today I'm the director of the crisis center. And then she introduced me to her husband. She said, we met at the crisis center. Thank you very much for showing me a way of finding a purpose in life. So this method really, really works. I do want to open it up for all of you. Anybody has any questions or anybody has a particular challenge that want me to work through with you?
Yeah, so as a reminder, you can use the chat feature on WebEx to send your questions. And I will read those to Sudhir Bhai. Or if you would like to, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Now, while you're thinking about it, I can also give you another example. So in 2015, at the Parliament of World's Religion, I did this presentation. And when I opened it up, somebody from the audience said, well, I want to talk about gun control. And I said, okay, is there anybody? So I said, are you for or against gun control? And he said, I'm for gun control. I'm against gun ownership. I said, okay, let's see if in an audience there is somebody else who is against gun control. And the gentleman got up and we went through the whole 4 steps: observation, feeling, need. And there was a lot of back and forth, right? There was a lot of argument. They both were accusing each other. The person for gun control was saying, well, you guys are killers. Only purpose of guns is to kill people. Nobody should be having guns. The person with gun rights kept saying, well, you want to take my guns away. A Second Amendment gives me right to own guns, and you want to take that away from me. However, after going back and forth and looking at all these 4 steps, the need, when we came to need, we realized, both of them realized that they both had the same need. And that need was for safety. Person on the gun control side and for gun ownership side, both of them had exactly the same reason for their point of view. And it was need. Once both of them realized that, then there was a dialogue opened up. And the person who was against gun said, well, okay, maybe we can have, you can own gun, but instead maybe have little stricter rules of who can own the guns. Maybe people with mental disease should not be using guns, and they should be have a better control, right? And the person on the other side was also prepared to have a dialogue of what would be the good measures of gun control.
Sudhir Bhai, we have a question from the audience.
Yes.
Question from Lata. What does it mean to get angry or irritated with others' actions?
Okay, so when you are angry at somebody else's action, that means you have a need. Your need is not met, right? So if you can give a specific situation, what is your observation? We can work through this. Instead of a general thing, give me a particular example.
It's in general. Sometimes when a line is going slow and say at the store, this person is chatting off and not getting through the line. It's a very general example.
Got it.
Okay, thanks.
So you feel angry because your need for you feel that your time is being wasted, right? Is that what it is? Or okay.
Efficiency. I think I'm looking for efficiency or yes,
okay,
time.
So your need,
but that's a very general example I gave you.
Right. So your need for efficiency is not being met. Right? So Would you have any requests for the other person that you can make?
That person could be building customer relations. They are doing their job, which is the right thing to do. But
Okay.
as a customer who wants to leave early, I'm getting angry. So I need to learn to tame that because it's my personal need. So what is that need?
Well, you just illustrated, right? Your need was to expedite things, right? Instead of getting angry, is there any other action you could take?
In that situation, one thing I could do is to move to another line. But what I want to learn is not to be angry or irritated. I want to know what that is in me that makes me feel that way, so I don't feel that way.
Okay. So the avoidance of even not getting angry. Let's go back to the first thing that the Chardon's code, that we are human beings. Sorry, we are spiritual beings undergoing human experience. So when we see somebody else doing something that irritates us, that makes us angry, applying that thing, saying that, okay, he's just going through human experience. It has nothing to do with you. That can help. Sometimes also you can look at it in a way that in this case, it's a sort of benign, but if somebody says something that is hurtful, switching from you to the other person and their feelings, right? And see how you can help them meet their feelings. And the joy you get of helping others would easily overcome the anger within you, my opinion.
Thanks, Sudhir. I really enjoyed the talk today. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. Sudhir Bhai, we have the next question from the audience. Can one have a non-violent communication in the face of a danger to one's life? I was thinking about what happened at the Capitol riots and how people inside must have felt. The January 6th Capitol riots is what the person is referring to. And the question was from Kamlesh Bhai and Jyoti Ben.
Okay. So, yeah, this is similar. I was asked once a question about Saddam Hussein and his action. So, what the specific question is, how do you communicate with the people who were rioting? Or
yeah, I mean, in the face of, right. So the question, in the face of a danger, right? How can you have a non-violent communication in the face of danger, basically? So maybe say you are the, Kamlesh Bhai, I'm presuming your situation, so feel free to unmute and correct me, but let's say you are the senator inside, right? And maybe you are confronted by somebody in the angry mob, right? How do you approach nonviolent communication in that situation?
So in that situation, first you need to get to safety. There is no other way, right? When you have, so in nonviolent communication, first you have to make sure that there is a child, right? If is running into the street, you need to first hold their hand and pull them back. You have to get them to safety first. At that time, you cannot say, okay, I'm going to explain to the child what the situation is, right? And then have a conversation and go over your needs that are not being met.
Got it. So safety first, and then you can, follow these tools to
Right.
monitor your further community.
Right. Your thought would be also, and very similar thing. Currently, I'm going through and I'm trying to write a blog on it. That although I was on one side of the whole belief system, there are also over 70 million Americans who thought differently. And how do I communicate with them? And how do I bridge those gaps? And only way you can do is once the minds are calm, you open up the dialogue and try to see what their needs are. And how do you then make sure that their needs are met at the same time your needs are met? And there's always some solution that you can find.
Excellent. Thank you, Sudhir Bhai. We have time for one more question if somebody wants to ask. Okay, looks like a question is coming up. So let's take one more question and then we'll conclude.
Okay.
Rita Ben, go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is Mayur. So Sudhir Bhai, Jai Jinendra, as usual, I must admit that we have never had a session from you that is not engaging and not insightful. So one quick question, and that is, as I'm listening to you and thinking about it, the bottom line here is that as long as we can differentiate between our feelings and communicate our needs in a rational manner, there is the simple belief system that the individual on the other side is also a spiritual life that's going through a human experience. So you can awaken that spiritualness in that person and you can have a good conversation. Am I thinking correctly?
So yes, and all humans have the same needs. The needs that we talked about, all of them have the same needs. They are no different.
But pardon me, but that is really the basic premise on which we are going. That may not necessarily be true, yeah, with every single individual, or is it?
I do believe that it is.
Okay.
It can be applied to every individual, yes.
Okay.
And I'll give you one simple example. I grew up with my dad, who I saw during the riots of Hindu-Muslim. We had some Muslim neighbors in our building, and a mob with machetes and sticks was getting into our building trying to harm our neighbors who were Muslims. And my dad jumped into the middle and he had a conversation with them. And I don't know all the details, but after a few minutes of grumbling and cursing, they all walked back and went away. So there is always a way to even turn away angry mob through conversation.
Okay. No,
you just need to appeal to their humanity, right?
Right.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. So, when I say this, I think I'm echoing everybody's sentiment, and I see the gratitude, showing up in the chat. Looks like everybody enjoyed the session, Sudhir Bhai. So thank you very much. And, we really appreciate you spending the time and speaking to the community. As always, I remember every session I walk away that I've listened to you. I walk away with like more questions and thoughts, which I'm thinking, that's really what you're trying to accomplish here is get people thinking, and, start that on their own journey. So thank you very much. We really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Mamnoon.
Awesome. Great. All right. We're going to switch to segment. So the next segment, Purvi Shah, and before I get into the next segment, I just realized myself and limits of communication sometimes, especially in a virtual session. So earlier when I talked about the committee and me being surrounded by wonderful people in the BOD who have stepped up to help, I forgot the most important role. So Meenal Shah, my apologies, I forgot to call you out earlier. You are, definitely our new treasurer. I want to say, I think among all of us, you probably were one of the people who got busy with transition earliest than everybody else, because we have, certain procedures that we need to go through to close the books for JSCNC. So you work with Badal Bhai, our outgoing treasurer, on getting things reviewed and understand how things are going. So thank you, and apology for my oversight earlier. All right. With that, I'm going to invite Purvi Shah next to lead the next segment. So Purvi is our newest youth coordinator, and she has the distinction also of being a Pathshala teacher for the oldest kids. So I'm going to hand it off to Purvi. She has two things she's going to do. The first one being a new initiative for JSCNC. It is a mentors program, and she's going to talk about how the program is going to work. And then she's also going to talk about an interest form that we're going to send out soon to, kind of gauge the community interest. And then she has a couple of presentations lined up. I think we're going to do probably one presentation now because one of the children had last-minute scheduling conflicts, so I don't think he's going to be able to speak today. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to you, Purvi. And Ketan is there to help with any technology challenges if you run into anything, because I think he's got all the backup material that you had sent. So go ahead. I'm going to mute my line now.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, I think we might have both the students presenting because they both are still on the line. But regarding the mentoring program that we want to initiate this year, we're going to be sending out a form to the entire community to gauge interest on how many youth are interested in being mentees, and the age range that we have planned for that are from 13 to 21, as well as gauge interest on how many people are willing to be mentors for them. So we're looking for professionals 21 years or older from various different professions. And within the form, basically, we're asking people to write down what their background is, skill set is, and total interest. And right now, so far, the details of the program itself for now is at a minimum quarterly meetings between the mentors and mentees. And hopefully that will help the mentees learn a little bit more about the profession and maybe network with other people. The mentors can help them network with other people. So look forward to seeing that form, and hopefully we'll get many people interested in that. That will definitely be a useful resource for them. And now, without further ado, this is a continuation from last year, because as you remember, we started the ingredients project that was with Rita Jain, with that. And there were a few students left to present their projects. So to have Shamik Jain and Aryan Rajnikanth, and Shamik is going to present his ingredients project now on. Shamik, please unmute your line, and I'll go ahead and share your presentation.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Samik Jain, and this is my ingredients project on beverages. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Start off with water, which is the healthiest drink for the human body. And so I did research on this, and as far as I know, normal drinking water contains everything that the human body needs to survive. And if bottled correctly, it does not contain any harmful chemicals or toxins. Some bottled water contains electrolytes and minerals for a cleaner, more refined taste. Do note that, however, as Jains, we try to do what is best for the environment. So it is better to carry your own water bottle instead of purchasing bottles, single-use water bottles, or plastic ones. Okay, so juices. So one of the most popular juices is apple juice, which is a healthy drink most of the time. Most apple juice has a basic mix of water and juice concentrate, along with a mix of other ingredients as well. So some examples include a synthetic form of vitamin C and malic acid. So that's a naturally occurring flavor found in fruit. Natural fruit juices, especially green juices with leafy greens like kale, spinach, and all that, they can boost immunity, which is especially needed during this pandemic and all. So so fountain drinks or soda. See, the most popular drinks like Coca-Cola and Pepsi contain a basic mix of high fructose corn syrup, caramel color, caffeine, carbonated water, phosphoric acid, and a mix of natural ingredients. The majority of these ingredients are unhealthy for the human body and should be avoided. Coffee. So coffee is a relatively simple drink. The main ingredients are roasted coffee beans, a varying amount of milk based on the person's preference, sugar based on the person's preference, and water. One important ingredient of coffee is caffeine, which is a known stimulant and is also known for helping a person stay awake. Coffee should not be consumed too much, as withdrawal can seriously, mess you up. As Jains, we should try to avoid any stimulants, including coffee and chai, or at least reduce the amount we intake. Are there animal products in juices, and should I be concerned? So, at best, you should try to avoid the following juices: Ruby Red Grapefruit Juice by Minute Maid, Tropicana juices that contain cochineal, Tropicana Pure Premium Healthy Heart, which contains fish, Tropicana Farm Stand Pomegranate, blueberry, contains beef derivatives, any juice or beverage with carmine written in the ingredients section. Animal products in beverages are rare, and when they are found, they usually come in small quantities. But as Jains, we are devoted to not eating animals and causing no harm. There is only one apparent animal product in many types of bottled juices. It's called carminic acid. So it's a type of red coloring made up from ground up insect. It's called the cochineal. There's only a small amount of carminic acid in juices, but it is still an animal product, so we must take the ultimate precaution. Animal products in orange soda. So why should I stay away from orange soda? Most traditional fountain drinks are entirely vegan and vegetarian, so we don't have to worry about that. But with the exception of most to all orange sodas, which contain an ingredient known as ester gum. Ester gum is also called glycerol ester of wood rosin, which is chemically derived from animal fats. One soda company that puts this in their drinks is the brand Sunkist. Animal products in coffee, so the Civicat and Digestive Refined Coffee. Following extensive research, I have found coffee in any shape or form does not contain any animal products whatsoever. But there is a type of coffee known as Kopi Luwak, which uses the droppings of the Asian palm civet, a type of mammal. Keep in mind, multiple studies have now been launched into this industry as the coffee has started to gain popularity among people. Researchers have now found that this has grown to be a very abusive industry toward the cats, and ways to make this coffee sustainably are now being looked into. So these are my sources. It's what I use to find all of the information that I put in these slides. So yeah, there's that.
Samik, great job.
So Shamik is willing to answer any questions if anybody has any. So good job, Shamik. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When Shamik presented his presentation to me, I actually learned quite a bit, especially regarding the juices and that tip regarding the ingredient in that coffee.
Samir, I've got one question. Harshad Shah. If I use gourd instead of sugar in my coffee, is it a wise step?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, in making my coffee, instead of using sugar, I use gourd. You can get it from Patel Brothers or any Indian grocery store. Is that a good step health-wise?
Yeah, it should be good. Yeah, it's natural sugar, so
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, gourd છે ને ઘણા બધા vitamins આવે છે જે sugar માં નથી આવતા. So yeah, gourd is definitely I would recommend. Even if, when normal food sweets, if you use gourd instead of sugar, that's better for you.
Thank you, Samir.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Shamik, I know you got to get going, so thank you so much for staying on the meeting. I hope you enjoyed Shrirankar's lecture as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And next, Aryan, can you please turn on your video? Thank you, Aryan.
Sure. Hello.
Hello? Yeah. And now, next we have a presentation by Aryan Rajnikant on tacos. I know many people here like Mexican people have enjoyed his presentation. You go ahead and share.
Hello everyone. Oh, okay. Hello everyone. My name is Aryan Rajnikant, and my ingredients project was made about tacos. So what is inside a taco? So one simple vegetarian taco that me and my family often make together. We use simple ingredients such as flour tortillas, refried beans, they can be homemade as well, cheese, and salsa. Salsa contains tomatoes, coriander, chili pepper, jalapeno, lime, onion, garlic, and salt. Sour cream and fajitas as well. Fajitas are basically just fried vegetables such as onions and peppers. So this is what we use normally, and we enjoy it a lot. My family, we all like it, and we have it very nice. It's like very nice and tasty. So although my family likes it, there may be some ways to make it vegan, Jain vegan as well. So you can get vegan cheese instead of just normal cheese. And you can remove onions and garlic from the salsa. You can also get vegan sour cream, and you can use other vegetables without using onions and ground vegetables in the fajitas. So there are some ingredients that may not be cruelty-free. Sometimes refried beans comes with lard, and lard is basically animal fat, which can be produced, which may not be cruelty-free. Sour cream and cheese are both dairy, and cheese is made by curdling milk with an enzyme called rennet. Rennet is basically a byproduct of meat production, and it comes from cows. So that means that basically when they take cows and they use it for meat to like sell to people, one byproduct that they get from killing the cows is they get rennet. So that is very not cruelty free. That's not good at all. Now there are some cruelty free substitutes that you can get. So for example, lard-free refried beans are also available, and vegan sour cream and cheese can be made from plant proteins and fat, which is cruelty free. Rennet can also be made out of nettle plants, which is cruelty free. So some vegan alternatives, some companies for cheese and sour cream, vegan alternatives are Daya, Follow Your Heart, Go Veggie, Treeline, Dr. Cow, and many others. Since the Impossible Burger, and like recently there's been many new companies which are working on ways to get vegan and cruelty-free like alternatives for many things such as meat and dairy. So there's plenty of companies to choose from. So there's some further information. One thing that is very nice about tacos is that it is very versatile and can be filled with many things. So if you don't like the ingredients we have shared, then you can swap things out. For example, you can swap lettuce for avocado or some other vegetable, or take out the fajitas for some other fillings such as rice or potatoes. So maybe like you go to a restaurant and you order tacos. One thing you have to be careful of is if you order rice or some vegetables, they may be like soaked in a chicken broth or may have some other thing which is not cruelty free. So you always have to remember to ask the waiter or ask one of the people who work there, is this like without meat? Does this not have chicken, or is this like dairy free? So that way you can be more careful, and if you don't eat something by accident. Thank you for listening to me about my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'll take them now.
Very good, Aryan. Thank you for sharing your presentation with everyone. And great job. Does anybody have any questions for her?
Okay, don't say anything more.
Geeta Auntie says that she wants to eat a vegan taco made by.
I'll try. I'll see if it's possible during this pandemic and all.
Hey, Aryan, great presentation. This is Kalpesh. I have a question for you. In many cheese packets, it says rennet at the back, or they just say enzymes. Do you know a good way, or in your research, have you figured out a good way to figure out whether the rennet is actually animal-based or plant-based?
Yes. So actually, if you like go to the back, if they are actually plant-based, because that is often what they're like trying to sell, they will often put that in the front, or they're like trying to highlight it. But they'll always be in the back if it's plant-based or like cruelty-free on the back.
That is correct.
I think, Kalpesh, what we have found is that if rennet is animal-based, they might not put anything on the label. But whenever it's plant-based, they will specify that.
Because normally the animal-based it's normal, right? That's how it's normally made.
Right.
But if it is like plant-based, that's like it's basically like the new trend. It's the new way of living. Like you'll always try and make it like cruelty-free, animal-free, so it's healthier. And so they'll try and like highlight that, like dairy-free cheese or dairy-free sour cream and stuff like that. But they'll always have like the details on the back. So that's how I check it out.
Awesome.
Sometimes you'll
Thanks.
see the symbol with the V in the circle.
They'll also have that like almost label or sign there. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. No problem.
Thank you, and if you need to go, I think you can go as well.
Okay. Bye bye. See you.
Yeah.
All right, Aryan, thank you so much. Great job. Purvi, thank you. For those who may not remember, so I think we had, this theme last year in the Pathshala. I think Sejal had announced it last year. We had one round of presentations done, I think last year around Halloween, if I remember correctly, and this was just a continuation. November, December, I didn't think we could fit in those presentations, so the first opportunity we got, we let the children come and present the nice research. So, thank you, Purvi, all the children, all the Pathshala teachers, great job.
Thank you. Yeah, actually we had 2 rounds, but I think you guys were out of town during the meeting.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna switch to next couple segments now. One thing I want to remind everyone is the Jaina convention this year. We have been getting communication, and I think depending upon the mailing list that you subscribe or WhatsApp groups you might be part of, I think there's a lot of details coming out. So I'm gonna play a short video. It's a virtual this year, just so you know. So there is no reason for anyone not to attend, of course, unless you have plans going out of town. It's from July 1st to July 6th. And they have branded this truly as a global convention this year. So, take advantage, no matter which part of the world you are in, you can participate. And there is, something for everybody. They have focus tracks for youth, young adults, obviously, adults and different interests, lots of speakers. So definitely take advantage of it. I want to make sure that people take advantage of this. So I'm gonna play this video. Ketan, if you can let me know whether people can hear it or not.
Jaina invites you to join us on the Resilient Path to Peace at the virtual 21st Biennial Jaina.
Ketan, does that come okay?
Yes, small second. Okay, that's much better.
All right, perfect.
Anand bhai, we can't hear it.
So we lost the audio?
Yeah.
All right. All right, take 3. Third time is a charm. All right, let's try again.
Jaina invites you to join us on the Resilient Path to Peace at the virtual 21st Biennial Jaina Convention from July 1st to 6th. Invite your friends and family from around the world to join us as the Jaina Convention goes global for the first time in history. Presented in a new virtual experience, this is a convention you won't want to miss. If you can't attend a session live, watch it on demand at any time, anywhere in the world on any device. Enlighten yourself with discourses by world-renowned scholars and spiritual leaders such as Gurudev Namra Muniji, Brahma Kumari Sister Shivani, and motivational speaker Rahul Kapoor Jain. Attend exclusive sessions hosted by the Young Jains of America, Young Jain Professionals, and Jain Connect. Participate in competitions such as Jain's Got Talent and the Jain Academic Bowl. And for the first time at Jaina Convention, take part in an international jab. With a wide variety of programming for every age group, you can be sure there's something for everyone at the 21st Biennial Jaina Convention. Attend entertaining programs such as unique cultural shows, spiritual bhakti bhavana, a special drama, and many more to be announced. Come and take the Resilient Path to Peace with us at the virtual 21st Biennial Jaina Convention from July 1st to 6th at jainaconvention.org.
All right. So, one thing I want to point out, if you have not registered yet, but you're thinking about it, they recommend, and my family, we have done it that way too, especially if you have like a high school or middle school age children who may be interested in specific tracks that are catered towards youth more so than the ones that are catered towards adults and seniors. They recommend do multiple registrations because I think they're going to run it by email. So if you were thinking of participating and if your children were also thinking of participating, I recommend you do multiple registrations. So, Shweta and I, we registered for one adult track or one registration, and then we also did a second registration for the children. So again, I highly recommend, if you have more people in your household who may not, cater to the same interest that you have, or maybe different age groups. Maybe you have parents living with you. They may be interested in different tracks. So make sure you do multiple registrations. And, with the virtual session, it's very cost effective. So I don't think, people should have any challenges meeting the costs of multiple subscriptions. So definitely recommend that. Along the same lines, Jaina is running a joint family survey. We had posted it to our Facebook page just very recently. So the part of their focus is to kind of do a global survey of all Jains, how they practice Jainism in their daily lives. What sort of interesting themes and ideas and challenges they run into. So it's probably one of the more comprehensive surveys I have seen. So it will take you 10 to 15 minutes to finish it. But I recommend you review it and take it. It's on our Facebook page. If you can't find it, then reach out to one of us and we'll be happy to send you a link. All right. Now that brings me to an important procedural matter. We always tend to do this when we are meeting in person, when we're at the JSCNC temple. Part of our process is to every year renew our audited financial statements. It gives an opportunity to make sure we're financially strong and we can kind of continue doing all the great projects that we have done. So I'm pleased to announce that this year, we have our audited financial results completed. My special thanks to Jagdish Bhai for being the independent auditor this year, and obviously, Badal Bhai, who was the treasurer last year, to run the audit and the financial summary. So I would like to invite Badal Bhai to come on the call at this point and walk us through the financial summary. Just as a quick reminder, this summary is going to be available to all the members of JSCNC. So after his review, if you would like to get a copy of the summary, we will make it to you in an electronic format. Obviously, given the COVID, given the pandemic, we are not going to be mailing anything or like we used to do at the temple, bringing those paper copies and handing it to all the members. So if you're a member and if you once Badal Bhai, has presented the summary, which is exactly the summary you will be getting if you request it, feel free to put in the request. And we're going to send a follow-up email asking everyone, providing everyone with instructions how they can request it. So Badal Bhai, I'm going to start sharing the document if you want to get ready. And then you can unmute your mic and let me know when you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Anand.
All right, can you see my screen, Badal Bhai?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
All right, all yours.
Thank you. Jai Jain, everyone. First of all, would like to thank all the generous donors of this community who made so many of these activities possible. We definitely have the funds from the center, but the added resources that we get from the donors helps a lot, especially in 2020 when it was a very challenging year. And as a community, I think, as Anand mentioned earlier in his opening remarks, being a small community, I think we have done a good job. We definitely can do better next time, but considering the COVID situation in 2020, I think we did a good job as a community as a whole. So sincere thank you to all the donors and all the volunteers who were involved in these different activities. I'll just name a few of those. As far as the COVID, we almost collected about $7,800 for COVID-related activities. And as a committee, 2020 committee, we decided to kind of split those amounts in a smaller packets, as I call it, rather than giving it to one institution. As several institutions in our area were doing such a great job, we decided to divide up the amount into three main institutions, and those are Food Bank of Eastern North Carolina, Interfaith Food Shuttle, and then Hindu Center, our Hindu Center. So almost equally, we divided that about $7,800 into these three institutions, and as they were all helping with the COVID-related activities in our area. So that was one of the things. The other thing that we've done this year, as we had a sizable amount starting of the year for Jivdaya funds, and it's been lately, for last few years, it's been challenging to find institutions that we can donate funds, as we are trying to avoid, if possible, because of IRS restrictions and other things, that to not send money to India. And of course, as we are in this community, we should do it for the communities here too. So we found an institution which is in Erie, Colorado, and I think Praveen Bhai has also visited a facility. It's Love in Arms. It's a very nice organization who look after the abused farmed animals, and it's an animal sanctuary who look after the abused farm animals. And so this year we concentrated our donation pledge to them, and also so we gave about $4,500 this year, which is such a great donation drive that we had. And then very locally, as Sejal Shah had mentioned, we gave it to Piedmont Farm Refuge here in Pittsburgh, North Carolina. So very close to our home and heart. So that is, we also donated money over there. So Jivdaya funds were very well used this year, and we were glad that we could find these two organizations that we were able to donate funds. And again, thanks to all the donors in the past who made up that Jivdaya fund, and we were able to do it. One other thing we also did was through Jaina and through Ritesh Sharat's efforts as a president, we were able to get the laptop for the students around in this area. So we collected about $3,700, and with Jaina's guidance, we were able to donate laptops here to the students over here who were in need. So these are the few items I think we should all be proud of. And I said, we definitely can do better. So we should just not be relaxed. Having done this year, we should continue doing it in 2021 and beyond. But these are some of the highlights. Personally, made me feel very, very good this year in 2020 that we were able to do it. As we did not have any of the big programs like Mahavir Jayanti or unfortunately camp or anything, but still, I think overall, financially, we did very good. As you can see from the summary here, that we are definitely in a good shape. And again, just to echo what Anand said, my sincere thank you to Jagdish Bhai for reviewing this. Just gives us more confidence in what we're doing. So again, in conclusion, I would like to say the state of our center is strong. So thank you again for giving me the opportunity to be a treasurer. Thank you.
Thank you, Badal Bhai. I always enjoyed that line. You know, it's good it's good to hear that the state of our center is strong. And, of course, my thanks to all the donors and supporters, not only last year, but over the years, everyone who has done an excellent job at supporting the center. So thank you. And Badal Bhai, Jagdish Bhai, thanks both of you for, walking us through and conducting the audit and, presenting the summary to the center. So in conclusion, I just have a few final parting thoughts. So remember, as I said at the beginning of this meeting, right? Just we're hopefully starting a great new chapter. Every day presents it. No matter the adversity, right? Every day is going to present you with some opportunities. So be thankful. I know I am always thankful for the opportunities that I get, not only to support and work with individuals, but also do the activities that we can as a group. So thank you. We're going to send, as I mentioned, just keep an eye out for for emails from JSCNC. We're going to send a few follow-up emails. I think there's also an email about youth volunteering. So just keep an eye out for those things. And we'll likely also send the presentation that Sudhir Bhai presented, so you can use that as a reference in the future. So without further ado, Arti Ben, are you on? There you are. Perfect. So Arti Ben, if you can kindly unmute.
Okay, sure.
And recite Uvasagaram and bring the meeting to conclusion, please.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Artiben, we stopped hearing you again.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, Jai Jinendra to all of you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Last meeting, we all heard the meaning of Vasagram Sutra was presented by Mahesh Bhai. So it was very good, excellent presentation, Mahesh Bhai. And then now, આપણા બધાના દિલમાં જે સાંભળ્યું છે એનો meaning સમજાય એના ભાવ રહે તો એ ઘણું ઉત્તમ છે એટલે જરૂરથી આપણે સમજવાનો અને ભાવ યાદ કરવાનો કોશિશ કરીશું. ઉવસગહરમ પાસમ પાસમ વંદામિ કમઘણમુકમ વિસહર વિસનિન્નાસમ મંગલ કલ્યાણ આવાસમ વિસહર પુલિંગ મંતમ કંઠે ધારે જો સયમણો તસ્સ ગહરોગ મારી દુઠ્ઠ જરા જંતે ઉવસામમ ચિઠ્ઠ ઉદુરે મંતો તુજ્જ પ્રણામો વિબહુ ફલ હોઈ નરતિર્યેસુ વિજીવા પાવંતિન દુઃખ દોગચમ તુહ સમ્મતે લદ્ધે ચિંતામણી કપ્પાય વપહિયે પાવંતિ અવિઘ્નેણમ જીવા અયરા મરમ ઠાણમ ये संतो महायस भक्ति बरन बरण हियण तादेव दिज्जबाहिं भवे भवे पास जिण चंद भवे भवे पास जिण चंद. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Arti. Jai Jinendra, everyone. We will
Jai
see everyone.
Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra, everyone.
Jai Jinendra to all of you.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
Bye bye, Jai Jinendra.
Namo Arihantaram.
Bye, Jai बोलावी दो.
Jai Jinendra.
Vimshasana
Shasana Devaki Jai.
Jinendra, everyone.